Hello, check. All right. Hello, welcome back. Once again, it's late, but I thought I'd try to make some progress on this. So last time we just got the to-do front end working. So I can create, complete it, it'll go down to the complete section. We can also delete. UI is not too great, but right now I think I wanted to focus more on the functionality part. And we got all that done with the in-memory to-do service. I feel like I need a diagram for how all of this is connected. That's an idea. But the other idea is that I wanted to have like a backend to-do service. So maybe we'll try that. And then maybe we can get some help with ChatGPT. Let's do that. And I think, yes, we do have a Pomodoro app developer. One that we made last time. I almost forgot about that. And I forgot, I think there's some things that I wanted to fix about this. I should have made some notes. So let's see here. I basically want to make a dependency, so maybe I can just tap on that and see what happens. Here is my protocol. This will be to hit a backend for my to-do list. This is what the protocol looks like. Version. Now I also have a here is the open API specs. Right, we also generated specs from last time. I'm not sure if the specs are 100% correct, probably not. Now I have to find the specs. I think I know where to do that. Whoops. This is not. Oh, actually. I did write stuff for this. Let's just try that out. It really likes to do completions, which I don't like. That should be async. Yeah, it already knows how to register. Use async instead of completion. And I think I need to, I'm gonna update that in the GPT notes here. To use newer All right, so we'll write that down. Oops. What is this? I'm gonna write that down so that next time when we update it, it won't make the same mistake. And it keeps on repeating the DI container part. But that's okay. Cool. And I think it said we have to update the protocol, so let's do that. Copy. Dang, everything's async throws. I mean, I guess that's fine. Technically, yeah, everything should be asynchronous. And I suppose technically everything can throw because it's doing a try. We'll copy this line. Perfect. Oh, right, we don't have that yet. That's fine, because we never created it. I think this, ideally, this API 2D service, or a lot of the code probably should be generated. I think that would be better. It didn't tell me to change to do. Nope. It's actually pretty simple. We just have to change that part. Here, just make it codable. Is that it? Save? Think it's gonna work? I know that I didn't have the proper API specs, so there might be some minor changes needed. But let's try it out locally. So we're going to open a new window. And in this one, we will open the backend. I guess I didn't have to click on new window, and we'll just, I think we'll just run this. Because this should have something, right? Yeah, it's in the to-do controller. Interesting. All right. Not sure if this is gonna work. Actually, This also makes me think, our backend should have a way to save it locally, because right now it's only pushing to DynamoDB. So similar to how our front end has this dependency management, I feel like our backend also needs the same thing. Like maybe the backend also needs Project I, because this DynamoDB client is definitely a dependency. And it's kind of interesting to think about it being like the same kind of dependency system. Like I can pull out the dependencies from both of them and keep them in like a separate dependency system altogether. It's kind of weird to think about. I could also have like a in-memory I don't know if this makes too much sense. An in-memory version of this. So then our backend, like our front end is talking to the backend and the backend is just talking to in-memory. Similarly, I can have the front end talk directly to DynamoDB. That probably wouldn't be the greatest thing. I mean, but it could work. I think I've seen some places where you get like the access key and access token that's specific just for the user after you log in, probably with Cognito. And yeah, in that case, why even have a backend? Just talk directly to DynamoDB. Probably wouldn't work so well for like a single table design, but maybe. All right, so let's for now, that's an idea, but for now, let's see if this works. Oh yeah, we gotta fix this because everything's now async throws. I think it's just that. Wait, update returns to do. What? No, this doesn't seem right. Oh, jeez. I gotta fix this. Alright, ChatGPT doesn't know how to read. Apparently. And I don't know how to use a computer. Okay, so when you update, according to this, it returns a to-do item. Okay. Sure. Fine, let's do it your way. I don't remember adding that. So everything returns a to-do. What about fetch to-do detail? Why is that returning a... Wait, to-do ID. Okay, this is not right. there, that's exactly what I wanted. Optional to do. Hey, got rid of the throw. Now you just made that the only one that doesn't throw. No. What? This is horrible. This is worse. It's more verbose. And that's the whole reason why throws was introduced. Sorry, I got a little bit heated there. Why are we putting a try, catch, do, catch for fetch, to do detail? There we go. That took a long time. And I probably could have prompted ChatGPT to do this a lot quicker. But you know what? That's fine. It's fine. Update incomplete. Update. What about delete? Delete doesn't. Okay, so the in-memory one here. This one will, so we'd have to actually hold on to an instance of this one first. So you say let to do equals that, then you can append to do, but then finally you just return to do. Simple enough. This one, I guess we find that to do. What if it couldn't find it? Update to do item. Also, this one's. Okay, so update is now optional. There. In memory. And I think we should, so this is kind of interesting. All right. This one's kind of interesting because I think this would be perfect for using a guard statement. So you can actually say like guard let that else. So basically we're saying if we don't find it, then return nil. I mean, the other way would have worked too. But by doing this, we're saying like the regular flow is on this line. So like you can almost completely ignore the guard. And then when you read the rest of the function, it's just saying update the title and return that to do. I think that's a proper use of the guard statement. And then complete to do item. Do the same for okay, so complete. Why is it not here? I guess it's because complete is just update. So this one should be that. You can say guard, else, return nil, that. Then we'll say is complete to true, and we'll return that. We'll copy the new implementation. Oh wait. Gotta change this. So that should be fixed. Good. Save that. Okay, so when you complete, it's put there. Oh, that's not good. What? That's kind of interesting because I wonder if it said something about that. I think we need a patch. There are issues with update and complete. With update, it always sets the which would uncomplete, Also, if you try to complete an item, the title gets deleted. Fetch is fine. Create is completed. False is fine. Update. It tries to fetch it. It's okay for now. I mean, could be more efficient, but for what we have, not bad. not bad for now, for initial implementation. All right. Yeah, I think ideally it would be patch. But that's okay for now. Or we can just like an update to do item, just accept ID, title, and is complete. That would also make a lot of sense, because like, what if we wanted to change the title and make it complete? And then that way also, if you wanted to complete to item, this is just a implementation of update to do item. It's just a customization of that, a specialization. Okay, does that compile? I think we got to make sure. Let's make this backend running first. What port is this running on? I forget. It should be entry point, right? Was it on configure app? Alright, getting tired. Why is it failing now? I think it's because of this one. Actually, I will need that one. Also, it's port 8080. Alright, so let's just get that one from... what is it called? Cognito. So in this one, it uses JSON Web Key Set, JWKS. In this one, actually, isn't it just? It's just right here. Copy. There we go. And we just paste it. So that way we can download the public certs and verify that our login stuff works. Okay, so that's running. And I guess this should be running too, so let's try it out. Is it running? Let me stop it and run it again, just to make sure that I got the 8080 change. Of course. Okay. This is all in the view models. Wonder if we can use the new observable stuff. Okay, let me, what's the best way to do this? I have a lot of thoughts here. On one hand, we could, the most rudimentary thing that could be done is just updating the view so that, like, let's say the buttons, it can just wrap it around a task, make that async, so then we call await here, update it so that this function is async, and then say await here, and that would solve it. It's pretty, although that approach is very rough, very like, I don't know how else to say it, basic. I mean, it'll work. I just don't want to make all those changes. The problem is that moving forward, if you want to make more asynchronous buttons, you're just going to have to do the same. It's like the same boilerplate over and over again. And that kind of boilerplate I want to avoid. Like ideally, the logic should be very minimal, similar to this. Actually, this could have been better. Oops. Like ideally I wanted to, oops. I would have wanted it to be something like this. This part's a little bit weird too. And then also ideally, that would have been like async button. Our button should automatically handle that. So the other thing that we could do is put a task around here. That way we don't have to update the view. But then the other, well, and that has a similar issue where moving forward, it's, we have to, every time we add a new function here, we have to add that boilerplate of wrapping around task, and that gets kind of verbose. So one other another thought is that these view models, ideally, there's two thoughts, two more thoughts. Sorry, I have so many thoughts that I have to organize them. One thought is that ideally view models should be main actors. That's because most of the time when you run functions on them like this, it needs to be done on the main thread. And that's pretty much one of the main purposes of main actor, whose executor is equivalent to the main dispatch queue. So anytime we run functions, they'll automatically run on the main queue, I believe. And I think that's a lot more ideal because that's, I mean, that's how Apple also wants us to do it, I believe, from one of their videos that I saw. The other thing I was thinking about is there is a new macro for observable. And I'm not too familiar with that one. Although I do believe if you do that, you can start removing observable objects and published, making that a lot cleaner. So I'm just gonna search a bit here. Really? Oh. Yeah, I was wondering. I was like, why does that automatically make it? I wouldn't have assumed that. Async image is cool, refreshable is cool. Okay, with main actor. Okay, so let's do this. What if we did this? What do we do if that throws? Handle this. What do we do with this again? Let's just do that for now, because previously create didn't return anything. Now that we made it return something, I don't know what to do with it. I'll just do this for now. Underscore so it doesn't complain. And I guess we'll do that with all the view models. Okay, so this is async, this is async. Oh wait, that's fine. We're putting all of this in here because if this fails, in the long run, we'll probably want to not move forward and then pop up an alert or something like that. Cool. Invalid conversion from async function of type main actor to synchronous type. Okay, so before I continue, I should explain. On appear, the signature is a synchronous type of a function that takes nothing and returns nothing. Why isn't that going in? So it's a function that takes nothing but returns nothing. However, viewModel.loadToDos is a async function that takes in nothing and returns nothing, but also annotated with main actor. I guess that's part of the type. Therefore, onAppear currently cannot take asynchronous stuff. So it's like as if we'd have to make an asynchronous onAppear version. but I'm just gonna search this first. Because I think there's also a dot await or something like that. Dot. Task. There's a dot task. So maybe we can do that one. Escaping sendable. Oh, they're using that. That's interesting. So if you view on appear versus task. Task will be canceled when this view disappears. It means if you're calling any web service, the task will be automatically canceled. Neat. The task is executed asynchronously and allowing you to start asynchronous work as soon as the view is shown. Cool. So if UI's task modifier is more powerful version of on appear. Wow. Did not know about this. Man, things are changing so fast. So that means we really don't need all that, but also non-sendable. We hit this a couple of days ago with the sendable with the backend, dealing with the Swift's concurrency updates. But I'm wondering if we can mark a function. I guess we can. Can we actually? Use an actor. I guess we could have just said actor here. Swift UI. Oh, here's using the new observable macro. This is one of the other benefits of using that macro. You can just call it state instead of state object, which is nice for memory management, I think. Okay, that didn't really help. Oh, final. We should probably do that too. Dispatching it on the main queue. With check throwing. Let's make our asynchronous code use the new async await pattern. Okay. With the above in place, we can now use an asynchronous task. Yes. That's where the main actor comes in. If we take a look at the declaration for both UI label and UI view controller, we can see that they've both been annotated. Okay. We can apply that to our own classes, giving them the same automatic main thread dispatching behavior. I'm gonna need to look at that video at some point. Or I can just read the documentation, which we kind of checked out last time. Sendable actors. Sendable classes. Marked as final. Cool. Sendable functions and closures. Does that mean our view model should be sendable? All actor types implicitly conform to sendable. Okay, so this should be sendable already. Right? This is the main actor. Or do I have to say... I mean, I think having these finals just in general is a good idea. Because the intention here is never to... like, we're never going to subclass this. That's not the intention. If we're subclassing this, something's going wrong. So we mark these as finals to indicate that we don't want these subclassed. But also this allows the compiler to do optimizations on this, including knowing that it's sendable, apparently. Although these are vars. Oh, are implicitly sendable. These classes can have stored properties that are immutable and non-sendable classes. Ensures that access to their mutable state is performed sequentially, okay? Otherwise, you need to declare explicitly. Any values that the function or closure captures must be sendable. In addition, sendable closures must use only by value captures, and the captured value must be of a sendable type. you can explicitly mark a closure as sendable by writing sendable as part of a type annotation or by writing sendable before the closure's parameters. The more I read this, the more confused I get. Call to main actor isolated initializer in a synchronous, non-isolated context. Do I need to make views also main actors? Does ChatGPT know? Whoops. Is recommended. Hey, it knows. It knows what it looks like, kind of. Now it's trying to gaslight me. If you don't know how to read the code, it's saying like, here's how you might use the main actor annotation in a view. I mean, like, it's kind of using it, but not directly on the view. It's annotating on the view model. Ensures that view updates occur on the main thread. Makes sense. However, you should use that for view models and other classes that manage state and perform asynchronous operations that affect the UI. Makes sense. I was not expecting to fight this battle tonight. Let's see if ChatGPT knows about this issue. Which means it must be called on the main thread. However, the SwiftUI view initialization context is not guaranteed to be on the main thread. To resolve this, we need to ensure that this happens in a main actor context. One way is by lazily initializing with the view's body, ensuring it occurs on the main thread. Really? That's okay, that's not needed. I don't like how it keeps on pushing this on it. There's like no changes every single time. I should note that. Just making a note, because this is a lot of, like, I'd rather it be succinct. Interesting. I feel like this won't work. Let's try it out. I was gonna be surprised if that worked. That may have worked. Okay, so first I have a preference for the style. It's a little bit more declarative. We're declaring that this is the action. We're not saying, hey, call this action, or how do you even describe that? We're not saying, here's a function, and this function calls that action. On appear. Guess that's okay. Didn't we face the same thing in to-do list? Was it here, or was it a button somewhere? I thought it was another button. Maybe not. Here. Oh. Oh, that one's complaining about it too. Do we need an async button? So this is kind of what I want. Thinking of just copying this. If you're curious about the view builder attribute, since our async button has an API that perfectly matches with SwiftUI's built-in button type, we'll be able to update our photo view simply by changing the type. And by removing the task, since we can now use await directly. I kind of like this, but see, so do you remember when I said I don't like this syntax where we have to create a new function and then all the function does is saying call this other function. Instead, I'd prefer to declaratively say action is on like. That makes it a lot more succinct. And like the other thing about that is we can't actually customize anything there. We're just doing a one mapping. So like when you tap on this button, it calls that function. Like here, it's kind of saying the same thing. There's a little bit more extra stuff, which can cause issues. If someone comes in here later and then just like says like, oh, how do we customize this? Let's add more lines, which is not what I want, because what I want to say is, if you want to change the code, change it in the view model. Like you should be changing it on like, and yeah, you could do that here too, but it's not completely clear all the time when you read the code. If you said action is on like, then it's very clear. Like the only thing this button does is call on like. If you do this, it says the action is this function here, which one of the things it's doing is calling on like slight. It's a slight difference. Practically, it doesn't matter to anyone at all. However, I'm very particular about this because it reads differently. The intention is different. And I think that's an important thing. It's almost similar to this, but this is kind of necessary because that's just how view builders work, I believe. Plus, you could have actually like a list of things. So for label, it's okay. For action, though, that could be succinct. Label could be, well, you can do other strategies, but I'm okay with this for now. Then we could wrap things up here. And here is the definition for async button. First, let's use the delay task to only show our button's progress view if the task ended up taking longer. Let's also introduce two convenience APIs, one for when we want to render an async button that shows a text. With the above in place, we can now use our new image-based initializer to construct the async button. Oh, hey, that's exactly what wait a second. I just said that. I guess other people are thinking the same thing as me. That's good. Wait, why did they change that? They didn't seem to talk about that at all, but oh well. Man, okay, so I kind of want to see this working temporarily before making it nicer. I think I do want to, in the long run, I do want to add an async button into the code base. But for now, it's not ideal, but I think we're gonna have to do. Oh man, this just feels gross typing it out. Okay, so let's see if that works. That was like just so much boilerplate that I just added. Oh geez. Okay, here it is. Is it gonna work? I have no idea. Just thought of something. This can't work. First of all, I don't have credentials. I can add the credentials. They are in the Terraform state file. I can copy that, put into here the access key ID and the secret access key. However, even if I did add that, there is kind of an issue, another issue with, where is it? Here. Because there's not actually a authentication system. So first of all, oh man, there's so many things to change, and I think I'm gonna have to do that next time because that's not a small change. Let me write this down before I forget. It's funny, I'm writing a to-do for my to-do list. Okay, so some of the issues. One, API, what is it called? To-do service needs to handle authentication. API specs needs to be updated to handle authentication. Okay, so we should have a local, that's it, in-memory service for the backend. That's the one where our backend hits in memory, like an in-memory database, as opposed to DynamoDB. We should have a backend to easily switch between DynamoDB and in-memory. In-memory is not going to work so well with Lambda unless it's using some sort of cache, which I think it does have. Either that or Redis. Okay, so let me think. Add async button to front end. I'm gonna copy this. Getting a bunch to handle this. So update UI to handle errors. Alerts? Question mark. Swagger spec generation would be nice. Bedrock S3 would be nice. How do we update to-do service to handle auth? So I'm phrasing this as a question because I don't know the answer. But that one refers to, given this protocol, and we have an instance of this protocol, right? Either in memory or API. Somehow, I'll need to get the authentication status. Pass in auth functions. And it's kind of interesting because this is initialized when the application starts. However, as you navigate through the application, you go through different states, including logged in, logged out. And when you swap states, this instance, the to-do service, does not change. It should not change. It's kind of using a strategy pattern, I think. Let me think about this. Hold on. I'm not sure if I'm using that right. It's like strategy or state pattern. I think it's more of a strategy pattern. Both of them are kind of similar. Intent. It's behavior that lets you define a family of algorithms, put them each into a separate class, and make their objects interchangeable. I mean, it's definitely that. Where you have a strategy. Context is our app. The interface, the strategy, is the service itself. And we have concrete strategies. Okay, so yeah. I mean, that's pretty much that. What about state? It's behavioral. That lets an object alter its behavior when its internal state changes. Actually, I think we need to use both. For instance, I think the to-do service has a reference to the app state, or like knows what the app state is, and when the app state changes, this behavior changes. Like if you're logged out, when you fetch to-dos, it just immediately throws with a not logged in. I'm gonna write that down. But we might need an authenticated state because it could get tricky if you have multiple app states. For instance, like logged out, logged in, but loading or something like that. Like logged in but not MFA'd or something like that. And then if there's multiple logged in states, for your app state, that's gonna make this really tricky because then you'll have to check multiple states as like if it's logged in but MFA'd, logged in but something else, and then each time you add a new app state, you're gonna have to change that. Not ideal. We just need a generic like if you're authenticated. that could be a potential way to handle that. There's pros and cons to both of these approaches. Passing in the auth to the functions keeps this simple, keeps this the simplest. Like, it doesn't have to know about any other states. Anyone who uses this, well, I mean, it's just pretty straightforward. All of the logic is right in there. And you can see from like the input, you need like an authentication token just to call this, just to call these. The downside of this, of course, is now it's a little bit verbose. Every time you call one of these functions, you have to explicitly pass in the authentication token. It's kind of like how this is pretty verbose. Every single time you have to say async throws. But it's also it's almost necessary because all of these are asynchronous, and I guess they might throw. I'm not too sure about the throws one. Yeah. I mean, like, what if you're not connected to the internet? I think throws would make a lot of sense there too. It could throw a not connected error. It's almost as if all of these APIs have a certain set of errors that could be thrown, such as not currently connected. I don't know what else. Not logged in. I mean, you don't need to be logged in for all of these. Well, all of these you do, but there could be other services. That's going to have to be something we'll think about next time. So we'll update to-do service to handle auth, including that one. API specs needs to be updated. Yep. We should have in-memory service for the backend. That would be a great idea, I think. We should have dependency management system for the backend to easily switch. Yeah, that sounds good. Async button, that would be great. Update UIs to handle errors, show alerts. Update UI to show loading in progress. Spinner. Add, is it called connectivity? So Apple has a framework. I don't know if it's connectivity. Reachability is the one I was thinking of. I think. Wait. Is it not there anymore? Also, what is this? Actually, yeah, whatever. I used to deal with this before at Capital One days. It's been a while. Wow. Does Apple not support this? Maybe. I will copy this for reference. It's updated an hour ago. What? What was updated an hour ago? Okay, well, just trying to hit the back end and look at how many to-do items I already have. Handling authentication, in-memory service for backend. Oh, right, also in-memory. Where was it? I know I'm gonna need this one. In-memory auth service. So that we don't need to rely on Cognito. We kind of create a in-memory version of it, which should be simple. You know, you sign up, log in, forgot password. And we could have, like, that's so simple. I just want to do that now. I don't know how forgot password is going to work. Well, you know, I can just do nothing. That's the easiest way. But basically, sign up. I save that account into in-memory login. Well, you know, just check it against the local. Forgot password, do nothing. Very simple, very simple. And then I can get rid of the fake one here, this bottom one, so that I always have to use email and password. And then that's gonna cause another issue because in memory. That's interesting because I might not always want to do in memory. I might want to sometimes do like a user defaults version or a core data version. That way when I relaunch the app, like my to-do list is always going to be kept every time I make changes. That could be convenient. Which also made me think of trying to do some functional stuff in here with like a generic data service interface. Oh man, I just had an idea. I think I already had this idea before, but so you know how in-memory to-do service, in-memory auth service, all this in-memory stuff, there's a core component of it that's very similar. The fact that anytime you write data, it goes to in-memory. I think there's a aspect of that that could be removed, that could be extracted out into its own function. And that's kind of where that functional programming aspect comes into play, where you can build up a service by composing it with like a in-memory version of stuff. Oh yeah. So like imagine if you have an off service implementation, which is just super generic. I mean, it's hard to explain while it's in my head, but it would be basically like a protocol. And then you can pretty much swap out the implementation by composing it with something else. So like off service compose with in-memory, or off service compose with API. And then that means we wouldn't have to write like this stuff over and over again. like this, the API stuff would be very generic. It's a little bit hard to understand without seeing the code, but I don't even know how to. Like, I think I have an idea on how to do it, because ultimately it's just a series of flat maps. Oh man, I kind of want to try this out. Let me write this down somewhere. Paradigm, I don't know how to spell paradigm. I had it written down. I wrote it down somewhere here. I don't want to search through it right now, but basically you'd flat map it. Bind, or should I use Haskell syntax? Service? No, because I don't know how to do that. Okay, let's just do this roughly. In. So this becomes an init. It shouldn't really be a service. It should be more like a component or something like that. I feel like I need more graphs and stuff to try to help explain how everything fits in together. Because what that would mean, especially for to do, is I don't know. Like to do would basically need its own. Would need more information. Like I'd have to extend it so that to do has like a URL. Like a path and a method. Not sure how that's gonna work out. Compose. Whoops. Actually, compose operators isn't that 3. That's like this. No. Also, I thought I changed the font. Maybe not. I've been enjoying JetBrains. Oh, there's Kamai. Okay, apparently I don't have it, which is fine for now. Can you do function composition in C++? Wow, C++ is becoming a lot more advanced. But what's the difference between 2 and 3? Function application is left associative. That is evaluating that. It's the same as evaluating that. And then in evaluating W, X, Y, Z is the same as that. We've already seen that this is how partial application works. Yep. If you want to do right association, you can use that. So I guess 2 is standard. Wait, I was doing this in Notion. 2, 3 doesn't really matter. I kind of want to find where I did that. Let's see, was that in area programming? Yeah. Wow, I already had a lot of this. This is in the open source plugin architecture. Okay, so just sharing the ideas. Maybe I'll try this next time, but I wanted to have something. So, I mean, like, this is very fundamental in functional programming. I haven't dealt with it too much, but from my understanding, it should be something like this. Like, let's say if you have a stream transformable, you have some input, output, and a potential failure. As long as they have the same failure, you can transform a stream from any publisher to any publisher output. So it's basically taking in an input stream, running it through this transform function, and then outputting an output stream. And then here it is with specific type. So let's say, like, this could be an API where the input stream, let's see, API? Well, I don't know, this could be reading it from a file maybe, where the input stream is data and then the output stream is a string. So once you get in data, it decodes that into a string. So it becomes a stream of strings. And here's a HTTP transformer taking it from a request to a response, where all it's doing is anytime the implementation is this, and basically the way you read it is anytime you get a HTTP request, you send, like, this is basically the API service that we were just talking about. Anytime you get an HTTP request, you flat map it, and it's returning just an HTTP response. Where, oh, this one's simulating it. But you'd make that API call, and then when it comes back, then you pretty much fill in the request body, status code, or a failure type, or set the failure if needed. You can define custom operations. You can make it generic. Did I not make it generic? Or, oh, that's just making the compose operator generic. I think I got to a point where it's like, it got really difficult to do that in Swift because of some limitation. I forget exactly what. And I remember Brandon speaking at Functional SwiftConf like a decade ago, a long time ago, basically playing around with this idea. And I don't know, it was like, at the time I was kind of like, oh yeah, that kind of makes sense. I didn't really have a real application for that at the time. But I can see me using this in our app, because right now it's starting to get tedious. Like, we have our to-do service, we have in-memory, we have API, I might need like a core data one or like a user defaults one. You have that, and then you multiply it with like WebSocket service, in-memory WebSocket service, auth service, in-memory auth service, cognito auth service, auth0 auth service. Oh, it's just getting to be a lot. Okay, well, it's getting late. I think I'm gonna call it there for the stream. Thanks for joining me. Next time we'll continue. We'll keep on working on this little by little, making it better incrementally. The way I think about it is, as long as we have like a solid fundamental of the code base, we should be able to expand on it really fast. The goal is to make it so we get into a good development state, to be able to rapidly add features very quickly. We shouldn't have to deal with these minimize boilerplate a lot. Stuff like the async button, like you're gonna have to do that a lot. Stuff like in-memory service, API service, all you should have to do is just define your to-do service or your whatever service, your calendar service. And you should be able to take in all the other stuff in for free. I mean, you might have to define API specs or something like that. I guess it might be going closer to like how Firebase does things, where if you just define the object, it knows how to serialize it in DynamoDB or in their database. And maybe that's where we're heading to. I don't know yet. Still thinking about that part. But anyways, thanks again for joining. I'm going to go to bed soon. Have a good night, everyone. Bye. See you next time.